of that early game, which left Rona just able to go farm. And so, I don't know. If Rebirth are able to address that, then they could be taking the game. We'll see.
Right, so we see the draft phase coming up once again. Another Skyban goes out from Megapixel, so they're really fearing the Sky pick from Rebirth Empire. Why do you think that is?
They're pretty much trying to single out the Sky player on the other team. Most likely it's in the jungle where we saw like Great Khali has like a very good mechanical skills. And with a player being able to use such a high skill cap hero and just pretty much carrying out the game with the mobility, it's a good threat, so it's a good ban for them.
Right. Good idea from them. And the first end coming out from Rebirth of Empire, once again the Koshka. So seeing the exact same two bans, let's see if the picks change things up this time around. All right, we see the Arden, so not too unexpected. Arden, definitely a priority pick as a roamer. Definitely. He's going to be able to, well, I guess they could technically go with him as a carry. What do you think of that?
Most likely he's going to be playing a roamer this one. We can look for Rebirth of Empire to secure something very strong in the early game. Maybe a Fortress and a Glaive, perhaps.
And once again, they go for the Vox, but this time they do have Rona on their side. So what do you think Megapixel will do to counter out that?
They need something very strong in the jungle for sure. Like with Vox being like a pretty late game hero, he needs that CS. He needs to stay in the lane a lot of the time in order to like carry into the late game. Like what we saw last game was Vox actually made a big difference. Like towards the late game, towards those last fights, he made that damage come out. Like he made the other team hurt really bad.
All right, we see the Dajo and Cruel come out, so this is going to be interesting. I'm expecting to see Arden as a roamer, Cruel as a jungler, and a Dajo as a lane carry. So I definitely am excited to see this Dajo come out once again, especially with the Cruel. That Cruel is going to be unkillable. All right, let's see what Rebirth of Empire does go with. Forecourt Jester, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you need the stun. Like, Kroll by himself just does a lot, as you said, into that late, into the mid, into the late. He's going to be something of a terror. But if you can get off that stun, I mean, they also have the Rona right there, stun into the red mist, into the fray. Like, you could really get a lot done in those few seconds. You get a silence out of that as well. I mean, that's a lot of free time for Rona to do work.
For sure. And it does look like Rebirth of Empire is going with that double silence composition. They do have Catherine's Blast Runner, they do have Vox's Wait For It, and if they can just land those just perfectly, they might even prevent Megapixel from really doing anything with that Cruel. If that Cruel cannot survive with his Deadman's Rush Barrier, he will go down very quickly.
Now, Tasty Bacon, you were with me there in NA. We saw multiple Krulls. It didn't work for NA. Do you think it'll work here?
I mean, we only saw one team really give any credit to Krull, and they just weren't able to play it, in my opinion, properly. And I think that was really the big thing that made the Krull not as effective in North America. So I'm really excited to see it come out here, especially being from Megapixel, because I know that they have a history of playing Krull and doing extremely well with it. But we are going to be getting underway onto the Halcyon Fold. It is game number 2 between Megapixel and Rebirth of Empire. Megapixel eSport now on the blue side, while Rebirth of Empire will be coming from the red.
All right, so as we said a little bit earlier, Megapixel 8th seed, but they're up 1-0. That's great for your mentality. And getting into this, I mean, they put a lot of emphasis on that Adagio, and they got it again. Now, we did talk a lot about the Krulls, but you know, with not only that Adagio, but the Arden, I mean, this just looks like a very scary Palmataro later on.
Yeah, late game, they are going to be so terrifying. But the question is going to be if they can get to that late game. They were really aggressive early on in game number 1, which they're going to have to definitely tone that down here in game number 2.
All right, so Palmataro actually, you know, at this point, they see Upfire, they see Mowgli. I mean, that's really not going to account for much. The support battle at this early stage is going to be a little bit boring, but, you know, we did actually get that heroic perk out of Palmataro there. He did land a little bit of damage on top of Upfire. It's just really going to force him away, but they know where the jungle is. Net Twilight looking into the back. He's looking to get those backs, but unfortunately, they're just not there. They just spawned now, and now, again, like, they are keeping tabs on Palmataro and crew. You know, Upfire can actually start stacking some of that armor, but he's also trying to take away, and he will actually get one of those backs. He might pay for it there, but Mowgli, as the only aggressor there, it's actually not going to work out whatsoever. And now Net Toilette, he will reap the benefits. So they got 3 out of the 4 in that exchange.
Yeah, they do get a couple of these back camps. However, Upfire may be staying a little bit too long back here, and he is going to go down on the backside of the map there. Mowgli able to pick up that Catherine. One. Yeah, and that's not too surprising. Obviously, Arden being quite a bit better of a duelist in the early stages of the game. Even as it goes a little bit later too, Arden he actually has that big offensive ability with the Blood for Blood. But looking at the actual junglers themselves, Net Toilette definitely, as you mentioned, the one that came out ahead there, does have 12 CS to the 7 of Palmatoro. So going to be looking a little bit better in terms of gold early on, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, 1 kill this early on, especially since he was just on the Catherine. It's not going to be the worst of it now. Kavalfar coming out of that lane, he is going to do a little bit of shopping. And again, very kind of the same start. He goes from the Blazing Salvo into the Crystal Bit. He also picks up that Light Shield. He knows he's up against that Vox once more. And Net Toilette, as that run just keeps going on, he's going to actually now hook up there with Upfire for a little bit more of a stronger comp in the jungle. But they're just not going to find anybody. There's nobody really going for this aggression. They just check it out. Now the Great Khali, he's also going to be doing some of that shopping as well. And as we just keep bouncing off each other, really the only big difference has been some of that jungle in terms of the cash. I mean, look a bit somewhere in the order of 400 to 500 gold between them, and it really just comes down to creep scores at this point. Yeah, the 1 kill was great, but I mean, it's not the end all. There was no objectives out of it. This isn't going to be a kill on top of Great Kelly either, but it will force him back. And again, like, the little differences are starting to show.
Yeah, Netwilla is now also up here just to offer some support to Great Khali, and looks like she's going to be going in.
Now, Kavalfar has, again, big target. Net Toilette, showing herself into that lane. Kavalfar has no escape options, but we don't really have, like, outside of Catherine, there's no real guaranteed initiate, at least this early on, from the Rona and from that Vox. They might be able to close the distance, but they don't have anything to kind of lock them down, and they're very dependent on Catherine to do that.
Yeah, that definitely is going to be, I mean, that's the only source of crowd control, as you mentioned, other than, a silence or slow. So that's really, they need Catherine to be there to make a lane gank be effective, especially with the fact that Mowgli was sticking around still to offer that protection for his laner. Mining has now begun, and Mowgli, he's going to be getting chased down by all 3 members.
Yep, there's that stun, which allows Net Toilette to do that catch-up. But again, just too little too late. The whole 3 of them have not come together in order to kind of make a kill happen yet. But Rebirth the Kingdom is still going to be staking about 500 gold ahead. So as long as they can just keep up with that, a little bit later on, they're going to be feeling great. Palmataro feeling great right there. Get some big damage there on top of Great Khali. And Net Toilette has to use Into the Fray to get out of danger on that one. Media Pixel in that 3-man gank right there, really putting up some big damage numbers.
Yeah, they are just sticking around in this lane now, putting some serious pressure onto this turret, and they've kind of had to back off. This turret's going to be taking a few shots before they do make their way back. Mowgli and Kavalafar getting it very, very low before they do finally have to respect the threat of the stun underneath the turret.
Yeah, my goodness. I mean, that much turret damage here already. 5 minutes in, that's something to be very worried about here from Rebirth of Empire. But at the same time, again, like, they are just still farming on their merry way. Palmataro now catching up there in a little bit of that CS, the little cash coming in. As soon as Metapixel take that turret, there's going to be a big swing here.
Yeah, and the other thing I really like about this, what Metapixel is doing, by putting so much pressure on the lane with Mowgli and with Valafar just staying there in the lane, it allows Krull to go and farm the jungle on his own, because of the fact that Rebirth has to answer that, as they're trying to answer right now.
Oh, that From Hell's Heart comes out, stuns up the Catherine, and that's going to be another kill going the way of Media Pixel. The Red Mist and that Into the Fray just unfortunately not able to bring Kavalfar down. He has those self-heals. He can be a little bit tough to deal with. Net Toilette even under this turret. The Vanguard coming out big here for Mowgli as wow. 400. No, the Scout Trap. He doesn't actually land. And wow, Palmatar, he's got to be feeling good about that one. He has now accrued 2 kills for himself. That's a good amount of cash now into his pocket.
Yeah, and Media Pixel, they're playing around this Krull perfectly. They keep the pressure on the lane, force multiple members to have to go into the lane to defend, as the gold miner does get picked up.
Yeah, Kraken at 6 minutes, don't they wish?
That would be extremely powerful. Either way, they've been able to keep so much pressure on the lane that Krull's just been able to farm up on his own, getting max experience for every single camp, of course, which is really big for him. As soon as he hit level 6, rotated up into that lane and helped out to secure that kill. Now he's actually the highest level in the game.
Now this is exactly what we were talking about a little bit earlier. If you can get that 3-man with that stun into the fray, it allows you to catch up, and Kavalfar nowhere to go. Rebirth of Empire will actually put the first point on their board, thanks to that Catherine engaged from Upfire. But Net Toilette, I mean, they're a little bit too low, I think, to kind of do anything else here. Palmatar, he's actually going to find him right there. You see the weakness stacks start adding up, but Net Toilette, he's just way too wise to the ways, and he is going to get out of town.
Yeah, definitely. If Net Toilette had stuck around a little bit, it would have been another kill being secured. So 7 minutes in, 3-1. looking a little bit better this time for Rebirth of Empire because the gold is only at about 600 difference.
Yeah, we still might have a kill lead here for Media Pixels, but it's not always about the kills, especially when it comes back and forth this early game. If you can't get a kill and then an objective, well, it's just a little bit of cash in your pocket. So going back and forth, definitely a little bit more closer here at the 7.5 minute mark. We should be seeing some of those tier 3s coming out here fairly soon.
Yeah, definitely going to be. We have a couple as the breaking point is the first item, but they're going to be going in for a fight underneath this turret.
Kali, the gauntlet by the end of it, just clipping him, but it's Adagio to take home one, looks for the second, gets it right under that turret. The auto attacks again, Kavalvar is just able to do so much damage from afar, has that piercing shard to go with some of those spells, and Palmataro, he's in that bush. They're going to go for this one. Net Toilette, no, he's going to go for the turret. They pick that one up, and now Net Toilette does not have that safety net, immediately just uses into the fray. Will survive through it, but again, radical gold changes now going towards Media Pixels, and this Kroll is definitely faring much better than we ever saw in NA.
Yeah, and Breaking Point is the first item picked up on Kroll. Anybody that was willing to talk to me and listen to me rant about Kroll at the North American Finals knows how much I love Breaking Point as the first item rush on Kroll, and it's working out so well for them thus far. 2-0-2 and a 5-1 lead overall for the entire team. As you said, the gold lead has now jumped up from about 600 to now 1,600.
So Media Pixels once more just looking very solid here into this early game, even with that Kroll. They showed it with the Rona, now they're showing it here with that Kroll. And as he said, a breaking point could go a long way here, but the big key thing is to keep him alive, and that's why we have an Adagio, that's why we have that Arden. We not only have heals, but as well the Vanguards. A lot of control in these fights will be, how long can we keep that Kroll going? Now Upfire right there was looking for that Merciless Pursuit, but didn't quite land anything. And with that cooldown now down, that's a Hell Heart right into Net Toilette. Has to use the Into the Fray to get out of this one. Palmataro, big silence, and the red mist. That's a lot of time that this red mist is starting to add up, and that is going to be the Palmataro kill right there. This is the Rebirth of Empire that they need. And Verse is going to be coming down. It's not enough to take out Net Toilette. Yes, it will. The auto attacks him up from Kavalvar. By the end of it, is able to trade it out 1-for-1, and it stops the aggression of Rebirth the Kingdom right there. Doesn't matter. Merciless Pursuit again. Great Kali with that Sonic Zoom, but the Gauntlet is going to keep up fire right here. She has nowhere to go. She's not quite under that turret, or is she? One shot, but the shield, it's enough. She will actually live through that. Kind of a heartbreaking moment right there for Media Pixel, but they do trade out 1-for-1. They were the aggressors. Ultimately, I don't think there's really going to be too much swing on this one because we still have that gold mine for Media Pixel, and we just put a minion candy on it.
Yeah, and not going to be able to pick up a whole lot off of that trade, and that's one of the big things we always talk about is who's going to, what do you get after a fight? If you winning a fight is great, yeah, you got the kills, you get a little bit of gold off of those, but if you don't do anything afterwards, if you don't secure an objective, if you don't clear out gold, the gold mine or even the back jungle camps, you don't actually really gain a whole lot off of just flat out winning a fight. And now we do see the Shiver Steel being picked up as the second item here for Palmataro, going to be helping to stick onto his opponents, get those weakness stacks, get those breaking point stacks, as that's really what this Kroll is all about.
All right, so men's gold payout is going to go out again. The minion candy doing some fantastic work here for Media Pixel. Just again, like warding off Rebirth of Empire, saying this is ours, and they get rewarded out of it. They did just jump again. We're looking about 2,000 between them, and Arden picks up a Warhorn on this one as well. If you thought that Kroll coming out of those bushes was fast enough, look at this Warhorn coming into it.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy when these fights do start. We thought maybe we were going to get one there, but not wanting to risk the 2v3. Everyone is moving towards this area as now Catherine is making her way up, but Kroll is making his way out, so this could be an opportunity for Rebirth if they decide to go for it. I don't think they realize that Kroll isn't there, though.
Well, Palmataro, as we can see, is just going to be doing his best to farm up a little bit more cash. He is 2-1-3. Finally did actually suffer out that death, but 59 monster kills, minion kills, whatever you want to call them here, for Net Toilette. I mean, Net Toilette was traditionally actually leading all the way up until about now. Now it's Palmataro now catching up on that one. And again, has that Shiver Steel, has a bit of armor to go with the boots. And, the boots, the heroic perk, and the Warhorn. This guy's going to be just very fast on the engage.
Yeah, not just on the engage, also on follow-up, and as the fight goes on, it's going to be so difficult to peel off from Palmataro. You really just have the stun, and that's about it. There's no other slows other than the Into the Fray. Other than that, they'd have no way to stop Palmatoro from getting into their backlines and just sticking onto them.
All right, so a little bit of pressure coming in for the Media Pixel here on the left. They're really just, again, trying to limit the space that these guys can kind of do those fights. That's Great Kelly going right through that barrier. Here comes the Versa as well. Will get a double stun. Net Toilette cannot move out of this one. Nothing defensive to help her out. Into the frame, who is going to keep her alive? Are you kidding me? Great Kelly is not going to be suffering the same fate, unfortunately. He will actually be the big casualty, but big into the fray right there from Net Toilette.
Yeah, Palmatoro got up to 12 stacks on the breaking point. That is an absolute massive bonus of stats. It's 9 per stack as Upfire is going to get chased down between turrets. Not quite
Storm
enough
Shield
damage
doing
there
work
to pick up the kill.
All right, so again, 1 turret down, looking for this next, and it is absolutely melting. 1 minion still standing. There's no backdoor protection on top of that one, and that is, again, going to be more gold now into the pocket of the Media Pixels. So Kroll doesn't quite get the kill, but he doesn't go down either. Neither did Net Toilette, and that's a big thing for that fight from Rebirth of Empire. Now, they weren't able to keep that turret up, but there's no more aggression to come out from Media Pixel. They're going to do a little bit of shopping, a little bit of murking now coming out, and, Kroll, now with, the Shiver Steel, he has a little bit more of a health bump, but there's something to be said for that Aftershock coming out from Great Khali.
Yeah, Aftershock, it's again, we're seeing the Aftershock focus for the Vox instead of the alternating current.
Yeah.
Not the most common of builds. Usually the Vox does really like that Aftershock, or the alternating current, because he is so focused on auto attacks, and you can still go the Crystal Power build. But we do see Net Toilette did just pick up a breaking point of her own, realizing, these fights are going to be long and drawn out, so might as well get some of those stacks building up myself as well.
Between the Red Mist as well as the Serpent Mask, that's a good amount of lifesteal right there. But will that be enough? So far, again, trying to take down Palmatara has proven really ridiculously hard. Not only do we have the heals from Adagio, but the shields and the control coming up from Mowgli. Of course, we also have that Fountain of Renewal on both sides of it as well. So when you bring those into reflex Bloxes, as well as Shiver Steels and all that, there is a lot of control going out in terms of how much actual hit points are being taken down in some of these fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Goldminer is about to pay out within the next minute, so gonna be expecting to see a little bit of attention, as we are actually seeing down by that miner, their Media Pixel really just sticking around it, making sure that it's not going to get stolen right before the big gold payout of when Kraken spawns.
Well, that's going to be in 15 seconds. We do got that minion candy on it. And again, Rebirth of Empire, unless they want to fight right there at a minion, at a gold minion with that candy, they just have absolutely no real option here to get aggressive. That's a lot of scout traps if you look at it right here. Upfire has been very diligent, looking to put down a lot of control in terms of these engages, and that's very much the same as we saw in game number 1. Rebirth of Empire was very much on the defensive, a lot of money sunken into those scout traps, just again trying to do their own information warfare, and by the end of it, Rebirth of Kingdom is actually coming out of it not too terribly until the last days, but game number 1 still feels very prominent here to game 2. The Media Pixel mentality and their control have been rather on point.
Yeah, not only that, but they also have that late game of the Kroll to come out here. So in game number 1, we did see the Vox start to try and take over the late game. That's not quite going to be the case here, because you have this Kroll to equal out that huge late game power, as Net Toilette having to use the Into the Fray to once again get out of the fray before the fight could start, not wanting to get caught out there. With the game going into the 16th minute now, death timers are going to start to get up there, so getting caught out on your own could be a big problem.
All right, so still 5,000 gold between these teams. It has been rather quiet here upon the fold. A lot of farming going out, a little bit of lane shenanigans back and forth, a lot of scout traps going down. But if you look it up far right now, it does actually have that Atlas Pauldron in. A really good application of stun into silence, Atlas Pauldron as well. Will keep Kroll from getting those stacks. The breaking points as well as those weakness stacks could be a really big game changer right there. But the big thing is execution from Rebirth of Kingdom. They really got to make sure that all of that kind of happens in sequence. If you start stacking it a little bit too much, you're going to lose a lot of effectiveness there.
Yeah, thankfully it is primarily all on Catherine, so you're not having to coordinate the stun and the Atlas Pauldron usage. It's just one person that's handling it. It makes it a lot easier to make sure you do get those stacked up. And now we're just going to be, it's going to be a lot of waiting to just see if someone gets caught out of position, because neither team wants to be the one that makes the mistake here.
Well, still more or less 5,000 gold between the teams. A lot of infusions not coming into this one. Upfire's right there. Doesn't know that Mowgli is. And Palmatar, he gets a lot of damage on top of Net Toilette. Big red mist as well. And Rona's out. The gauntlet is just keeping these guys there. The stun is big on top of Great Khali. And he's just going to try to kite and kite and kite. But Warhorns and Vanguards and everything, he's going to live. But he's just not going to be returning a lot of damage. And Upfire does not have that same ability. She is going to go down. And verily, I think this turret could as well on the next creep wave. But why go for a turret when you can go for the Kraken and you're just going to get it anyways?
Yeah, this is going to be almost certainly the Kraken being picked up by Media Pixel, unless there's going to be a miracle steal coming from Great Khali, as infusions are now starting to become a thing. There are double infusions onto Great Khali. Palmator, of course, with the weapon infusion there as well. But this Kraken is definitely going to Media Pixel. Now they can just kind of regroup and make a push into the lane.
This is starting to look at endgame scenarios now. Media Pixel still up about 6,000 gold on these guys. And Rebirth the Kingdom, the #1 seed into this, could actually be now dunked down into the bracket of ultimate success, aka the lower bracket. As Media Pixel, again, they came out swinging. They said they had a lot to prove. And so far, if they can take this, if they can make this push worth, if they can remove the rest of the turrets, for example, I mean, we have a lot of infusions, and this is a good end game scenario for these guys. Palmatar going from bush to bush. We do got that flare, so they know that he's there, but this Kraken is going to be merciless when it comes to the turret.
And here they go in. The Kraken is getting onto the turret. This could be a fight as well.
Now, Vox, he's trying his best. He's putting out a lot of damage. The red mist even going down there as well, but that turret is now down and out. Out of the fray, going to go in there as Palmatar is sticking on top of Upfire. Here comes Mowgli as well. Kavalfar into the back, still doing great things. Big silences coming out. That will stop Media Pixels a little bit. The big red mist as well, but Net Toilette does not have the hit points. There goes one, there goes two. A double kill comes out for the Kroll, as now Great Khali trying to delay this ace. It's not going to matter. That is going to be the turret, and the Kraken is still healthy enough to make this a 2-0 from Media Pixel eSport, the #8 seed, coming out strong here in our first game of this series here at the EU Finals in Katowice. That is just fantastic news for them.